Okay, Tom. I'm glad I have a better sense of what you're trying to do now. Knowing that you're not particularly like working on the game is actually pretty helpful to helping you figure out what you should do. And I think it's a good idea for now. If you're really looking to build Azumi as a brand outside of being a game character, I definitely think laying low on the idea that she is a game character and pumping up the idea of her as a more general character will help. So the first thing I think you need is just I think you already have an Azumi game website, but I think you need a general website for Azumi as a character. Like just the Azumi site that de emphasizes the idea that there's any one central part of it other than Azumi herself. The site should be designed in such a way that when you go there, it would be like a gigantic short animation of like Azumi slashing into frame, and then it's just like her covering the whole fucking screen. There's just like links at the top that are like, browse Azumi media and about and, support or whatever. But browse Azumi media would then take you to a list of everything. I don't know if you've seen the Kuso Mega website, but it has been very successful for me because of the fact that I made a fan art page on it. So anybody who wants to get onto this website, all they have to do is make fan art of the character. I've collected it all on one page, and tons of people have come to look at it. And of course, this drives people to the website, which has the story itself. It has more stuff. And it has everything, most importantly, because, I'm doing stuff on Twitter, I'm releasing stuff on YouTube, I'm releasing stuff all over the place. All of it's collected in one place, so you can easily find anything of interest. So I think that you need to have a website that has a page with, every single piece of media that exists, and have all of it categorized for the character. Again, you can look at my website, but yours should be flashier and more interactive. So some of the things that I think that would be great projects for Azumi. So the biggest problem with Azumi as a character right now is that we don't know any of her story really through the stuff that's been released, and we don't know that much about her personality. She has a strong aesthetic persona, but we haven't been given many hints about what her story is actually like. So if you're not going to be working on the game for now, I think that you should go ahead and tell her story. Not necessarily immediately, but, slowly over time through different pieces of media. So some of the things that I'd be most interested in are cutscenes. So you've already basically made what amount to like short cutscenes as though they were from a game, but most of them have been sort of deliberately meaningless. I think you could just make the actual cutscenes for the game, and just release them, one at a time for a year or whatever, and like people would gradually get the story, and it would basically be like watching all the cutscenes for, watching the movie version of a game, which plenty of people do anyways, So, and then if one day all these cutscenes appear in a video game, the people playing the video game will either, be fans of this story already, or they will be none the wiser that this was already released on Twitter or wherever. So I would say making the cutscenes is a good idea. Don't make any of them more than 2 minutes long. I think that Twitter videos generally between a minute and 2 minutes is a good space. And these could also be released on YouTube, but like I would release them on both through that platform itself, like not promote the YouTube video on Twitter, but release it on Twitter as a Twitter video and on YouTube as a YouTube video. And have those come out on the same channel as your other content. So what do I think your YouTube content should be? I think you should be Tommy Oliver 3D, and I think your focus should be a general 3D channel, a channel about 3D animation. I have a whole list of stuff I think that would be good. So basically, I think the attitude you should take is assume that your audience knows nothing about 3D. Your audience is not 3D animators, they're 3D enthusiasts, people who are fans of 3D animation. What would they be interested in hearing about? They do want to know technical details, but they won't understand a video that is comprised of technical details. You need to make videos explaining technical terminology and details. So for instance, what is cel shading? Make a video, what is cel shading, explain what cel shading is, how it can be done well or poorly, etc., etc. Using famous examples, your thumbnail is a big Wind Waker face, So you pick basically the most famous example of whatever thing you're talking about, and then break it down. So those kinds of just explanations of terminology are a good thing. Maybe talk about the history of 3D animation, different eras. Basically, what I would encourage you to do is to be as disambiguated, as unabridged as possible. So basically, every video, try to say as little about 3D as you can so that you will always have more to say later. So if you're making history of 3D, don't do one video of the entire history of 3D. Do a video on every single era there has been, and then it would just be as simple as doing a little bit of research to figure out, what happened, and talk to other people who know this stuff. You are somebody who is well in touch with other people and can get this kind of information, so I think that you would be able to do this type of video. And then, of course, you can also do instructional videos. You could also do spotlights of 3D artists who you're interested in, either be they small people or legendary figures, whatever. You could do analyzing scenes from 3D shows. So maybe take a scene from Beastars and break down what they did to get that scene. Or recreations as well. If you wanted to recreate, this would be a little bit more in-depth if you wanted to do videos like this, but it would definitely get a lot of attention if you were able to recreate certain moments or images and then show how to recreate that to the audience. As well as just doing podcasts, interviewing other people doing 3D. I think if you bounced between all of these things, let's say that you're putting out one video a week, right? 2 videos a week is probably the healthier expectation for a YouTube channel. I don't know if you could do that unless you were able to, some of these are videos that might be easy enough that you could do 5 of them in a day and schedule them to come out over the course of weeks or something like that. It all depends on how difficult you find any of these to be, or how many you can crank out, or at what rate. But, what I would encourage is during these videos to play the cutscenes, play the other videos, have moments where you say, let's check in with, midway through a 15-minute video, let's check in with Azumi and see what she's up to. And then we cut away to the Azumi cutscene and cut back, incorporate all the different elements of her into the YouTube videos. And, anything that's come out, be it new or old, anything that hasn't been talked about in a video yet, find a way to put it into a video. Or do it again, later on. So that's my ideas for the YouTube channel and how it could be used to promote Azumi, is to be talking about 3D and constantly showing examples of the 3D work that you do, so that people are not only enthusiastic about 3D, but about you as a 3D artist specifically. And of course, Azumi's a strong character design. I don't think you can go wrong with her. I think that she's proven successful. She's been around for years. People are still interested in the character, and this brings me to honestly what I think might be the biggest thing that you could do. And you were talking about Sanrio. Just make lots of products of Azumi. You already have the T-shirt. If you made lots of stuff with Azumi on it, I think that the power of Sanrio character designs is just that they are cute. That they just make stuff with these characters and people buy it because it looks cute. I don't think they typically start making media for these characters until they're already popular and they're trying to spread it to more people. Like Gudetama, for instance. That's a character that was just being sold on things in Japan, and then they make shows, they make little shorts, they make stuff to try to broaden this character's reach to make sure that more people are aware of it. And then it eventually permeates. So I think that, instead of having the mindset of make Azumi popular and then make products out of Azumi, make Azumi popular through having products of her, because if people buy and wear those things, then other people talk about it. Other people ask, where did you get that? Who is that character? And there's people like May who bought the Azumi shirt just because she likes the design. There is nothing to know about Azumi other than her design, but the shirt looks sick, So pushing stuff like that, and if you can sell shirts by hand, I would encourage you to do that. I know it's more difficult, but people are just so much more likely to buy shit if you make it by hand than if you sell it through a website. Though May seemed to like the Azumi shirt. She's worn it a few times. I do think that was the one she said showed up smelling bad, right? Was that a Azumi shirt, or was that one of I think it was that one. But In any case, yeah, products galore. So, as for other than cutscenes, what I think you should do with Izumi video wise, I think a very smart move would be to make an OP, like an anime style or video game style OP. So, have an original song. I think you said you already have a friend who was making music for the game. If you could take one of those songs, preferably one with vocals, and just make a straight up anime OP for Izumi, I think that would be a huge move. That's a big promotional, and it'll exist forever as a good video. Like people just watch OPs because they're good. So if Izumi has a full blown OP, that would be a bigger project. But if it was sick, then that would be a huge step forward for the character. And OP only has to be a minute and a half long, But even beyond that, you could also make full blown music videos. You mentioned that you have ideas for that. I think that's also a great idea. And you were also talking about Monty Ohm being a great animator. If you go back and watch, like, Haloid, it's not well animated. It's just, like, frenetic. It's just a lot of stuff happening. But it's imaginative. But the actual animation is worse than stuff you've done, I think. So go back and watch that. Let's see. What else did I write here? Short comics. So the way that you were talking about 4 don't think of it as gags. Just think of it as short stories told through 4 panels. 4 it's not that they're inherently funny. It's that the structure is set up, beat, punchline. But that doesn't mean joke. It just means resolution, right? So if, let's say, a Azumi short story might be... the first panel, let's say Azumi is eating a rice ball, right? She's sitting cross-legged or on her knees. She's got the sword at her side. She's eating a rice ball in the first shot. And then the second shot, the sword's like, wow, you really like those rice balls, huh? I didn't know raccoons ate rice balls. And then in the third panel, she'd be like, it's not a rice ball. And then in the fourth panel, it's like a close-up of the thing, and we see that it's something else. And he's like, oh, I see. That would be a 4 comic. Like, just, it's not so much that it's funny as that there's a reveal or a reversal. It's just a short story, basically. As long as it feels like that, I think it could be a successful 4 But you also don't need 4 whole panels to tell a story. Just as many panels as you need, as much as... whatever kind of short comics, just short stories with the character. I think what would be fun with Azumi is to kind of focus on her suffering, because she's a one-armed character, and she's a badass ninja, but, like, there's something kind of pathetic about her, that, like, she's basically, like, fighting back against very overwhelming odds. She's an underdog. She's small, she's a girl, she's missing an arm, her sword drinks her blood, So, like, I think just focusing on the idea that misfortunate things happen to her, but she is stoic or like, only barely reacts. Like, she's clearly sad, but, like, trying to hold it together. Like, that's the sort of moe of her character to me. So... like, focusing on skits that emphasize that aspect. Just like if she's eating an ice cream and, like, she loses the ice cream and it's just kind of like, well, I guess I'll go buy another one. Like, just whatever her reaction is, like, those kind of moments are what, would endear us to a character like that. So... any kind of stuff like that. I also think that in regards to your website, you need some kind of bio for the character and maybe even a wiki or, like, just short bios. Like, think about the old, like, Soul Calibur 2 website. I don't know if you ever went there. Or, like, any of the websites for fighting games where, like, they list each character in, like, a paragraph of their history. Something like that for the major characters in the story, I think, would be great. Or just an introductory video, like a video that's like Azumi introducing herself or being introduced by someone and just kind of explaining basic characteristics of her would also be good. I also think that you should introduce, eventually, some kind of rival character and some kind of friend character. Because... part of the thing about Azumi's world is that we've seen her sword, we've seen the enemies she fights, but we haven't really seen what other quote-unquote normal people in this world are like. Like, is everyone a raccoon? Are there I think there might have been other characters that you've had that are considered to be like normal people who are other animals. So, if we had more of like a sense of who her connections are, I don't know if she's supposed to be like a super lone ninja, and so maybe having friends wouldn't really work out, or the sword is already her friend, so maybe that kind of character is not really necessary yet, at least. But some kind of rival character that is similar in style to Azumi, similar in shape, I think would do a lot to add contrast. And, I don't think you need to do this yet, though. I think that, once Azumi's kind of grown as a character in herself, then you can start introducing, a rival for her. But I would say that if I had to say what are the biggest things that I would want from the character going forward, I think the website and like just a central hub of everything Azumi is an important first step, and that you should link to it all the time. Every time you post anything, like link to the website so that people know where to find more. Just add it to the end of every tweet. Add it first thing in the description of every video is Azumi website. That's your main focus. And then, focus on making short videos for Twitter first. Those have already been successful for you, but make them more story-driven. Give us more information about who Azumi is, who she's fighting, what is her story. Maybe do a full-on cutscene from the game, maybe just some kind of intro. Definitely do an OP sometime within the next few months or for a year. I don't know how long it would take to do, but like, I would say that seems like a more complex project. So start off with getting us more into the character of Azumi, more into her world, more endeared to her. Then hit us with an OP to get us really hyped and kind of be like, this is the entrance point of like, the franchise has begun. Like, this is an OP for everything. Everything related to Azumi, this is the OP for that. Products, I would say that's something to do early on. And if you want to do YouTube, if you want to become Tommy Oliver 3D, that's something to do soon as well. I would say that in terms of video production, don't think of it in terms of I have to do a video every week. Do videos whenever you feel like it. Schedule them, to come out in a time frame that is like, if you feel really inspired 3 days in a row to make videos, don't release them 3 days in a row. Stagger the releases. Or even just hold on to them, like release the first one, and then if a week passes and you haven't come up with another idea, release the next one, and then like maybe you'll end up stockpiling more along the way. But just don't ever release your videos too soon, and if you can, stockpile them. If you can, like, find one day where you have time to make 2 videos, do that, and then keep that other one for later, but try not to release anything too close together. And, focus more on, again, I think short videos and short comics, stuff that personifies the character, is the most important right now. Because we all love the iconography of the character. We want to know her story. And if the game's not coming, start telling the story as soon as possible so that we can just go ahead and get excited about it without waiting for anything else, and start telling it small so we can get it as soon as possible. Only worry about creating bigger things once we've already kind of come a ways and people are really like, people will let you know when they really want something. It's like, oh, you should really make, people are going to start saying like, you should make a comic for Azumi, or you should make an anime show, or you should make this or that. And, even when they start saying that, keep them at bay until they're, like, begging you for it. That's when you finally do it, Give them as many tastes as you can until they are, like, they can't fucking take it anymore. Then hit them with the OP, Then hit them with something more exciting. But don't worry about trying to make anything big until you've been going along for at least a little while. That would be my advice. So, yeah, there you go.